Good morning and welcome to the next in our series of A Day in the Life of Gen Z. Today we are going to be talking with Kurtis Bowman. He is the Director of Architecture and Technology with Dell EMC, as well as being the President of the Gen Z Consortium. Welcome, Kurtis.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. We're just so excited that you could join us today and take some time out of your busy schedule to just talk through a little bit about Gen Z, Dell, your role there, what it's meant to Dell EMC to be a part of the Gen Z consortium, and just a little look at what you think the future holds. So first, let's go ahead and start out with what prompted Dell to join the Gen Z consortium?
We had been looking at Dell for a solution that allowed for disaggregate components to be joined together for quite a while. And we'd looked at a number of the industry standards around things like Ethernet or PCIe. And while they would work, they weren't ideal. Latency wasn't right, or you couldn't compose memory and other pieces into it. And so every time we'd get down the road, we'd find that it just really wasn't quite what we were looking for. And then HPE actually came to us with the idea of Gen Z. They were competitors, so it was a little hard to hear them the first time. And I actually think the first time they talked to us about it, the skepticism won. But we did hear what they had to say, and as that sunk in and we were able to digest it, we had them come back for a second round and talk to us about what Gen Z was, how it worked, and we actually thought this is what we've been looking for. And so it was real easy for us to say, yeah, this is something we want to get into. We immediately joined the precursor to Gen Z, which was a JSA body, and started working with the folks there to bring it forward in what became the Gen Z consortium now.
Great. So, I mean, obviously, the way that Dell has impacted the Gen Z consortium is by being one of the early founders participants, right? But now there are so many members within the Gen Z consortium. It's gained so much momentum over the few years since its launch in 2016. So how has participation in the consortium and that growth impacted Dell?
So Dell's done a lot of things. As we looked into this and we realized it was feasible, then we started looking at where does it make sense. And we actually have talked about it publicly now, what we call our kinetic infrastructure, where we're able to take systems and map them together uh, from a compute point of view, but also think about storage or uh, accelerators, maybe even memory in that space. And from there, over the last couple of years, we've actually at Dell Tech World shown off what this kinetic infrastructure might do in products like our MX7000, which is a bladed chassis. So there's not a lot of normal expansion there, but with Gen Z, you can now take that expansion outside the box. And make it very easy to compose full up systems, even if maybe the first time you didn't have all the resources you might need. So from a customer point of view, we're really excited to see what they're going to do as they're able to pay as you grow instead of maybe having to over provision as they buy.
So you mentioned thinking outside of the box. So the consortium is an open standards body. And I'm curious to know what your opinion of open standards bodies is, as well as how you feel like they impact the industry in general.
So open standards bodies are critical to many industries, but especially the technology industry. If you look at, over time, right, all of the things that we get used to are based on these open standards because it allows companies to invest in a particular area and then use a common interface. It also, from a customer point of view, it doesn't kind of lock them into one solution from one vendor. So, Ethernet is one of the outstanding ones. It runs all over the data center now because I can connect many things in an IO fashion that I maybe couldn't connect otherwise if we didn't have that open standard. Gen Z is bringing that same thing into the memory space where now I can start to have memory centric cycles going between systems. And that allows for great connection when I need to move a lot of data at very low latency. When I start to think about the advantages that you get, it's really all around. I don't need one vendor to make everything for me, and that's what standards allow. So Dell may make some great things in the Gen Z world, but we might be missing a key component that somebody finds important. Because the industry's making these, they can go anywhere and they interoperate. And you think today of things like Bluetooth that everybody uses, or USB that everybody uses, even PCIe where you plug cards in, they just work. That's the same thing we're going to have with Gen Z because we've put a lot of effort into that interoperability and compatibility testing.
Great. So you have, excuse me, you have held the role of president of the consortium for a little while now. And I'm interested to hear about how you feel about that role, how it's impacted your work personally, and then also a little bit about what you see for the future of the consortium.
Yeah, well, being the president of a great consortium like this is really an honor. I've been very fortunate to be able to play that role for the last 4 years. And the thing that really strikes me is how I get to work with the best and the brightest in the industry. Every company has their great people, and you get to work with them at your company. But when you get to work with the great people across many companies, you really see the power that our industry brings. And I actually early on in the consortium, I was sitting across the table from somebody from HPE as we were having a Gen Z meeting in their facility in Houston. And he goes, if anybody had ever told me there's going to be Dell people sitting across from me at this table, I would have told them they were crazy. Uh, and that's the power of these industry bodies, and it's the joy that you get of being president of bringing people together and things that they thought were not possible. And that's what's made the Gen Z standard and most other industry standard specs very strong, is because you get that diverse opinion set and you don't necessarily get caught up in your own Kool-Aid as a company. And so that really makes it a strong solution that comes out and meets a lot of needs for customers and for the industry. Being president and helping to drive that is great, but I've got to tell you, I couldn't do it without all of the wonderful people that are working to make Gen Z better every day. We've got a full board and officer staff. We've got wonderful people running the work groups. So being president is nice to have the maybe the title, but if it weren't for all the other people, it really wouldn't be much to say.
Well, we thank you so much for holding the title and doing such a great job of, getting this consortium up off the ground and keeping it running really smoothly. It's been a very successful organization, lots of great members, lots of great member companies. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. It's much appreciated. And I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it. And if there's people out there listening to us that are interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always looking for new members.
Great. Thanks, Curtis. Have a great one.